Lindsay, and today I'm going to be up-potting some micro dwarf tomatoes into some larger containers. Now, the really nice thing with micro dwarf tomatoes is that they don't need a pot bigger than about 3/4 gallon or 1 gallon at the max. They produce lovely in this size of container. They usually don't exceed 20 or so inches in length, some being much smaller in size. So today we're going to get these up potted into their larger homes, since they are probably, they're outgrowing these solo cups really fast. Now, my mix today is a mixture of raised bed potting soil, coconut coir that has worm castings in it, perlite, a little bit of peat moss, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of the Espoma tomato tone. I'm just going to add a little bit to the mix. This will just give it a nice little boost. We're just going to get that mixed in. There we go. Now, one of the other things that I like to do, if possible, is plant my tomatoes deep. Now, what that means is you can see the stem coming up here over the surface level. And if I plant this portion underground, then what'll happen is roots will start to form. You can see that there's little tiny hairs all along the stalk of the tomato. See those little tiny fuzzy hairs? Those, if they are in contact with soil and water, they will, well, even sometimes just water, but they will start to form little roots. So you can get a really nice, sturdy tomato by planting your tomatoes deep. Now, our pots are not huge, so we're not going to be able to plant them too deep. Let's see. See, they'll just kind of hit the top. So I don't need to take any of these lower leaves off because none of them would end up underneath the surface. Let's see here. This one, we end up with a few leaves that would get close to the soil. So I'm going to pinch off a few of these lower leaves. And what this is going to do is when I put them in the larger pot, these leaves are not going to touch the soil, which will help keep it free of disease. And if any of this can get underground, or if I can put any of this under soil, we'll get a nice extensive root system. Now, both of these varieties are dark stripe micro dwarf tomato. Starting off by putting just a little soil at the base there. We're going to massage our cup to loosen maybe the roots that have attached to the cup, or to soften the soil. Instead of keeping it in this shape, I'm going to lightly massage the roots to try and break them up a little bit. This will encourage them to grow out. There we go. See, and this is actually kind of cool. So this tomato was actually started in a little peat pot. And the funny thing is, you can see the little peat pot down here, right? You can see the fabric that's still on there. Now, like I said about planting them deep, you can see how deep I planted it, because this is where the little peat pot started, and look how much was under the soil. So this is where all this root system formed, was up on the stalks, and it's all from planting it nice and deep. So I've got the roots lightly massaged out there. We're going to nestle that in and then just fill it with our soil. These are great varieties of tomato. Micro dwarfs are great varieties of tomato for growing indoors in the off season, or if you have limited space, growing on a balcony or a windowsill. There we go. There we go. And you can see we've planted a little deeper than it was before. This will encourage it to get some more root growth, and we have a nice, robust, short and stubby little plant that hopefully will start producing some buds soon. We've got our second one here. There we go. Again, this variety is dark stripe. It is a micro dwarf variety of tomato, meaning that it doesn't get larger like most tomatoes do. Not just the size of the tomato, but the size of the plant. Now, most tomatoes can get, in excess of 5-6 feet. And micro dwarf tomatoes don't grow taller than about 20 inches or so. And that's considered a micro dwarf tomato. Now you can see those lovely roots there. You can see that I've gotten them nice and loose. We're gonna lay that in there. Again, I'm kind of planting it down a little deep, and then we're just gonna fill in with our mix. There we go. There's lots of good stuff in this mixture, so we won't have to add any nutrients to our water for a little while because it is going to be happy with the stuff in here, the worm castings, the tomato tone that we've added. But here we have our 2 dark stripe micro dwarf tomatoes, and they are going to be at home in these roughly 3/4 gallon pots, living a happy little life. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions about micro dwarf tomatoes, please don't hesitate to ask them below. And I always appreciate when you hit subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.